never liked going to the hospital. The smell and the strange sounds made me uncomfortable. My dad had to go there a lot because of his kidney problems. He was a strong man, but his health wasn't good. One day, my stepmom got really sick. She had to stay in the hospital for a long time. It made my dad sad. He would often sit by her bed holding her hand. I could see the worry on his face. He loved her a lot. After a while, my stepmom passed away. It was a tough time for all of us, especially my dad. He was heartbroken. He started saying things like he didn't want to live anymore. His health was already not great, and now he was even more sad. He decided to stop going to the doctor. It worried me and my siblings. We didn't want to lose our dad, too. We tried to convince him to see the doctor, but he refused. He believed his time was coming, and nothing could change that. One day, we were at my brother's house. It was me, my brother, and my sister. We were all with our dad. As the day went on, he started to struggle to breathe. It was hard to see him like that. He looked at us and said, "I have to go, the other side is pulling me." Right at that moment, something strange happened. The door slammed shut loudly, out of nowhere. We all jumped and looked at each other in fear. It felt like the room got colder. We could hear footsteps in the hallway, but there was no one there. Our dad took his last breath, and everything became silent. We were scared, huddled together, not sure what just happened. It was like the air changed, and we could feel something we couldn't explain. I've always wondered about that moment. What was on the other side that was pulling my dad? The mysterious footsteps and the slamming door made it all so eerie. It's something I think about even now. Was it something from beyond, or just our imagination playing tricks on us? Losing my dad was hard, but that strange experience added a layer of mystery to it. It's a memory that still gives me chills, and I can't help but wonder about the unknown world on the other side. It was a really sad time when my grandma got sick with cancer. The doctor said she didn't have much time left, maybe less than 3 months. She didn't want to bother us, so she passed away quietly. I couldn't go to her funeral because it was far away and I had to work. My parents went alone. The funeral was in a far-off place about 8 hours from where I lived. While they were there, some strange things started happening. I have a random phone call from an unknown number. I pick up and hear something, like someone whispering or a baby crying. It made me feel uneasy. Then, out of nowhere, I heard my grandma's voice yelling at me, asking why I didn't want to go see her. It scared me a lot. I called my family to tell them about it, and my dad said not to worry. But that night, things got even stranger. The lights in my house suddenly went out, and I heard loud stomping noises. It really freaked me out, so I decided to sleep in my brother's room for comfort. A few days later, my parents returned from the funeral, and they told me something that sent shivers down my spine. They found out that my photo ended up inside my grandma's coffin. Nobody knew how it got there, and no one claimed to have put it inside. I was confused and scared. Why would my picture be in Grandma's coffin? It felt like something mysterious was happening. The thought of my photo being in that place where my grandma rested made me shiver. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe it was just a strange coincidence, but the weird sounds and my grandma's voice stayed with me. Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear her asking why I hadn't come to see her. It was like she was still around, trying to communicate with me. I talked to my parents about it, and even though they tried to comfort me, I could see the worry in their eyes. We decided to visit Grandma's grave together, hoping it would bring some closure to this strange chapter. As we stood there, my parents placing flowers on the grave, a chill ran down my spine. I couldn't shake the feeling that something otherworldly was at play. The wind whispered strange words, and the air felt heavy with an unseen presence. In the following weeks, the strange occurrences faded away, but the memory of those eerie moments stayed with me. It made me question the boundaries between our world and whatever comes after. Maybe Grandma was trying to reach out, or maybe it was just the mysteries of life playing tricks on us. Either way, it was a scary and unforgettable experience that made me wonder about the thin line between the living and the departed. My name is Yang Li, and I have lived in Thailand my whole life. This is a scary event that happened to me back in 2009. It was a dark and chilly night when I left work, tired and eager to get home. I decided to take a shortcut through a narrow alley to save time. The dim light flickered above, casting eerie shadows on the old brick walls that surrounded me. I quickened my pace, hoping to reach the safety of my apartment sooner. As I walked through the narrow passage, I noticed a man standing by a dumpster. He was just standing there, staring at me with cold eyes. A shiver ran down my spine, and I felt a bit uneasy. I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe he was just waiting for someone or lost in his thoughts. Ignoring the uneasy feeling, I continued walking, but I couldn't shake off the sense that his eyes were following me. I picked up my pace, my footsteps echoing in the empty alley. Praying for my safety, I tried to focus on reaching home as quickly as possible. Finally, I made it back to my apartment, letting out a sigh of relief. I locked the door behind me, assuring myself that I was safe now. Exhausted, I went to bed, hoping to forget the unease that had settled in my stomach. The next morning, as I switched on the news, a chilling report caught my attention. The alley I had passed through last night was now the scene of a terrible incident. I couldn't believe my eyes as they showed images of police cars and flashing lights right where I had hurried through. The news anchor spoke of a dangerous person they had caught, and my heart skipped a beat when they showed his face. It was the man from the alley, the one who had been staring at me. Fear gripped me as I realized how close I had come to danger. It says that he stabbed someone to death on the very same night that I went past. Driven by curiosity and a need for answers, I decided to visit the county jail where they were holding him. The guard led me to a small, dimly lit room where I saw him sitting on the other side of a glass partition. His eyes met mine, and a chill ran down my spine. "Why didn't you attack me?" I asked, my voice trembling. He looked at me, and after a moment of silence, he spoke. "Why would I attack you? You were walking with 3 children." His words hit me like a ton of bricks. I was alone in that alley, or at least I thought I was. I couldn't understand what he meant by 3 children. My confusion must have shown on my face because he continued. It made my heart almost stop because I lost my 3 kids in a car accident 5 years ago. I was speechless. The realization sent shivers down my spine. But at the same time, I was happy too, because I know that wherever I go, my kid's spirit will always look after me. The alley, which seemed ordinary the night before, now felt like a place where the lines between reality and something darker were blurred. As I left the jail, I couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that lingered. I had narrowly escaped a dangerous encounter because of a tragic mistake. That night, I couldn't sleep. The alley, once a mere shortcut, now held a sinister presence in my thoughts. It made me question the thin line between safety and danger, and how a twist of fate had spared me from a nightmarish encounter. It was a regular night, and I was fast asleep in my cozy bed. Suddenly, I woke up because my dog, Bella, was barking like crazy. I thought maybe she heard a noise or saw a squirrel, but she seemed really scared. I rubbed my eyes and got up to check what was going on. I tiptoed to the front door and looked through the tiny hole called a peephole. To my surprise, I saw 2 kids standing there. But something was off. Their eyes were completely black, like there was no color at all. It sent shivers down my spine. The older girl started talking, saying they lost their dogs and needed to use my phone. Her words made me uneasy, and her eyes looked strange, like they were from another world. I hesitated, not sure what to do. Then something weird happened. They didn't move, not even a little. It was as if they were statues, but their mouths were moving as they spoke. The girl insisted they wouldn't hurt me and just wanted to come inside to play. I felt a chill in the air and decided it was best to stay safe. I didn't answer her. Instead, I quietly locked the door, hoping they would leave. I peeked through the peephole again, and they were both standing there, giving me a creepy smile at the same time. It made my skin crawl. Not wasting any time, I called the police. I explained the strange situation to them, but by the time they arrived, the kids were gone. It was as if they vanished into thin air. The police couldn't do much since there was no sign of a break-in or any real threat. As I tried to make sense of what happened, a chilling thought crossed my mind. I remembered hearing about something called black-eyed kids, mysterious beings with jet-black eyes that visit people late at night. The creepiest part? They can't come in without permission. Even though nothing bad happened that night, I couldn't shake off the fear. Was it just a spooky tale? Or could these black-eyed kids be real? Imagine a scary knock on your door in the middle of the night. What would you do? The mystery lingered in my mind, and every creak of the house made me wonder if they might return one day. Being a nurse is tough. We deal with sickness and death a lot. Some of us find comfort in faith, while others face spooky things. I remember a time when I had a patient who was really scared of dying. Every time his heart beeped, he'd yell, "Don't let me die!" One night, things got even scarier. I rushed into his room, and this guy was floating above the bed, wearing an evil grin. It was like something you'd see in a scary movie. As soon as he saw me open the door, he fell back onto the bed. But then he started laughing, saying we wouldn't let him die. It sent shivers down my spine. Soon after, he had a heart attack and he died. We did everything we could and he was confirmed dead, but the horror didn't end there. Minutes later, he sat up and laughed. It was like a nightmare coming to life. He then slowly leaned back to the bed and we checked again and he was really dead. All the doctors just stared at each other, trying to figure out what they just witnessed. The creepy part is that later that night, when I picked up a call from the desk, it screamed, "Don't let me die!" It was seriously spooky, like the whole hospital was haunted. It was as if the spirits of those who didn't want to die were lingering around, making their presence known. It made me question everything. Was it just my imagination, or was there something supernatural happening in that hospital? The fear lingered as I went about my duties, wondering if I would encounter more eerie incidents. The next few nights were tense. Every beep of a heart monitor made me uneasy. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something otherworldly was happening. The air in the hospital felt heavy, like there were unseen eyes watching our every move. One night, as I was checking on another patient, I heard a whisper in the hallway. It said, "You couldn't save him." I turned around, but there was no one there. It felt like the spirits were playing tricks on us, tormenting us with their presence. As the days passed, more strange things occurred. Lights flickered without any explanation, and shadows moved on their own. It was as if the hospital itself was haunted by the souls of those who had passed away. I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to ask my colleagues if they had experienced anything unusual. To my surprise, many of them had similar stories. We formed a small group, sharing our eerie encounters and trying to make sense of the supernatural occurrences in the hospital. Two of my co-workers couldn't handle the spookiness of the hospital and quit. I'm still working there every day, forcing myself to come to work. I hope my job lasts.